Hey, what's up, everybody? This is kind of another cut test update. This is for the PM2 in CRU-WEAR. And I do believe I have finally hit kind of where it has trouble slicing. Oh, it didn't. Yeah, it does hang up just a little bit there, which is why I decided to kind of call it. And what's interesting is that this is done 720 cuts. So it's pretty close to kind of what I've hit with S90V when it's actually valid. So it's not bad. The interesting thing about it is that it does have a slight problem getting through the paper, but this still cuts like a champion. So I guess it really does depend kind of on your blade geometry and how thin something might actually be behind the edge, as well as the actual finished edge that you have on there. So yeah, it's interesting. Kind of makes me think that this would probably be rather easy to strap back. Yeah, you can kind of see it's there you go. Yeah, it is certainly rolled. I can feel it pretty good there. But yeah, it does seem like it might be fairly easy to strop and or take a fairly fine abrasive to be able to actually bring that back, which that's super awesome. I haven't really gotten around to sharpening this much more than the first time, so I will be a little interested to see just how challenging or not it is to actually sharpen that stuff. Obviously, it's a super steel, so it's going to be kind of a pain in the butt compared to something else. Speaking of something else, I'm kind of interested because I haven't done any of the cut tests on them before of a couple of Ganzos. This is kind of one of the newer ones that I just kind of reviewed on the channel. This is the FH921, and this is in D2. And I'm just kind of interested in how Ganzo's D2 actually does with my particular hands and whatnot. But before that, the one that I'm a little bit more interested in is kind of some of their old stuff in 440C. Because I've seen some really good 440C, like from, Benchmade and, well, I was going to say Cold Steel. The Cold Steel was 440A. It wasn't even 440C. But I've seen some really good examples there, and I've seen some pretty terrible examples. So I kind of want to know where these things kind of fall. And I do have quite a few of their old Axis G-Lock kind of things. And I know that this company is, or at least especially with these kind of guys, are little gray area because they don't outright counterfeit anything, but they heavily take designs and then just throw a different lock on them kind of thing. Like I know that they do one for the PM2. They've also done one for the Stretch that actually looks fairly similar. I think they've done a couple that look fairly similar to like a Benchmade Bedlam. I guess that kind of really curvy Persian style blade. But, a lot of people really talk about Ganzo and their D2 being super great value because, well, outside of the Schiemann model, what is it, Anamanti? I think that's kind of their other range instead of the Firebird here. You can pretty much get a hold of all of them for less than $30 each. So, a lot of people talk about their value, but almost all of the value I've heard has come from their D2, whereas, they've talked about, hey, at least their construction quality and everything was great with these 440C guys, which, yeah, speaking to their gray area, They do, at least on, Amazon and other sites, refer to this as their G-lock, for a Ganzo lock. However, on their website, probably still, but certainly it was, the last time I checked, like 9 or 10 months ago, they still refer to that as the access lock. And I guess that makes sense for them because they were making these knives long before the patent was actually up on the locks. So they literally were copying, even down to the name, the lock. It's kind of a kind of gray area, which is why I do kind of at least prefer their FH line because, to my knowledge, their original designs, they're not actually ripping anything off, at least not directly. Everything's got to look like something else. Like, this blade kind of reminds me of, I think it was the Benchmade 530, which is kind of like the granddaddy to the bug out. At least in the blade shape kind of thing. But obviously this is, a heck of a lot thicker and just made completely different. But, just homages and whatnot. So I'm curious on how this 440C is going to do, and then how its D2 kind of stacks up to the other D2 that I've tested from, let's see, I've done CGRB, and I've done TwoSun and Free Tiger. I think I did one of their D2s. I know I've done the FH11 and 14C28N, but that's not really what I'm looking to compare against. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and see. I don't really anticipate, any surprises with these. I haven't really seen anybody's cut tests on them, but I have seen that, yes, it actually tests as D2, and yes, the Rockwell hardness is actually, anywhere between, heck, 58 and I think like 63 or 64 was on one or two extreme cases that people have seen, which, you might kind of worry about chipping, but yeah, we'll see. So yeah, that's kind of what's coming up next, and hopefully they won't take 7 to 1100 cuts each on these ropes. So it'll be a little bit easier for me to get through it. Also, I've just been stupendously lazy because I did basically 300 cuts and then let it sit for like a week and a half. And then I did another 100 cuts. And then let it sit for like another week or so. And then, earlier today I did, 500, 600, 720 before I noticed that it's just not super slicing through that paper anymore. At least not 100% reliably, which is what I'm looking for. So yeah, that's kind of up next for the cut testing things. I also have kind of another thing that I'm trying to work through a little bit, and it has to do with micarta. Most of the companies that I've got, micarta is quite nice and kind of a more premium kind of handle material, along like G10 and whatnot. But there has been a holdout, and I have kind of mentioned it in a couple of reviews, but it is TwoSun's micarta. And they generally say that this is linen micarta, but I mean, generally with the roughness of it, obviously they do brown for all of their stuff, which, hey, that's not super popular here in the States, I guess, but brown's a very popular color in China, at least for electronics and whatnot, so there's that. But the weave on this makes me think it's much closer to like a burlap micarta anyway. But yeah, for the most part, I'm generally not super happy with almost any of it. This is the TS187 Fangtooth from Mazwan Mokhtar. This is another newer one that I got that I've actually kind of done a little bit of work to and everything, and it seems to work out a little bit better. This knife actually does kind of worry me because it does have a cutout, but it's a cutout in the micarta for the pocket clip, which means that it's not super stable because it's not the strongest material on the planet. But yeah, outside of two very special cases, TwoSun's micarta, this stuff is just not really been super happy for me. It's not, the premium kind of feel that I've had from other stuff. So I'm looking for different ways to kind of fix that up a little bit. The two exceptions that I can think of, one of which I've already reviewed, which was the TS85. It was the Josh Wojtko knife that seemed to use a little bit. It's certainly a different micarta. And then this one, which it's crazy because it is micarta, but yeah, very much doesn't feel like it either. I mean, it's so heavily milled out and whatnot, and just the black and white layers and whatnot. Yeah, this is pretty strange and out there, but technically micarta. So those two are the exceptions, but I have quite a few of them, and they've all kind of been like this. And I've worked a little bit on some of them, like I think the TS27 Zenith that I had, kind of in the same micarta stuff. I've done some, well, I took some diamond stones to them to kind of smooth it over because some of them were a little, rough's not the word, but like jaggy or something like that. Just, I mean, this stuff isn't easy to mill very efficiently without having, fabric fraying and whatnot. So I understand. But yeah, it's just not my personal favorite. So I'm working on different ways of kind of dealing with that. I did, like I said, I took some diamond stones to kind of smooth out the TS27 Zenith. And then that kind of gets a bit like this, but, super white and dry and whatnot. And kind of from what I've had, like I know a lot of custom knife makers usually say that they'll, kind of douse it down in WD-40 or whatever for a day or two, and that'll help purge some of the dust that you've ground into it, as well as, hydrate's not the right word, but, bring the luster back or whatnot. But I've actually found a different product. This is Benchmade's Blue Lube. It's supposed to be, knife lubricant. I think I picked it up from a Blade HQ order a long time ago and really haven't used it because I've been using KPL for everything else. But I found that this actually does a really good job with kind of restoring some micarta. This one I did a little bit of work, but I actually want to take it more to actual sandpaper to kind of smooth this over already a little bit more than it kind of is. But I've also done the oil soak on this, so that's done wonders for the appearance of it. This front flipper is actually pretty darn sweet. I will eventually have a review for it, but it's a 273, 277, somewhere around there. It's pretty high up there. It's another night morning design. Another one of the newer guys that I picked up. But yeah, I'm kind of looking for ways on how to improve micarta scales, particularly from TwoSun, because they're not my favorites by any stretch of the imagination. Heck, if I had to pick, QSP does a fantastic job with their micarta. And CGRB does okay. It's a much more rough texture, which is perfectly fine for more outdoor rugged tasks, but it's not quite as classy on something like the RIA that has the AR RPM 9 steel on it and everything. So yeah, just kind of looking for different ways to kind of further customize these guys and make them a little bit more my own. So that'll be fun. This is actually not the only one of these knives that I have. Obviously, I've done a cut test on this knife, but it was an S90V, and this one's an M390. So kind of interesting. At some point, I could do a cut test on this guy as well to just kind of compare their two different steels and how they're heat treating them. But that's much further down the line. It's kind of a lower priority. So yeah, I guess a lot of rambling and everything later. Next couple of cut tests are probably going to be pretty quick because it's going to be 440C and then D2 from Ganzo. So I kind of have those as baselines for, just the company in general. Obviously, one from each really doesn't represent the whole thing. Case in point, my Maddox 2XL and M4 that performs about like 12C27 or 440C. So, obviously, if either of these are super not what I'm expecting, I have more of either of them so I can kind of compare that against it, as well as resharpening them and trying to reproduce the results that I got. So yeah, that's kind of what's coming up for cut testing over the next few weeks or whatnot. That'll probably unless these things just dull like immediately, then that'll probably take me through the end of the year to work my way through that, as well as enjoy the holidays and whatnot. So that'll be fun. I got the basement all nice and decorated out with garland and Christmas lights, and I got my own Christmas tree down here next to the wet bar. So all sorts of nice stuff. It's cozy. I do like Christmas lights and decorations and whatnot, which is strange because I've had mall jobs in the past, and usually people who work any kind of retail around the holiday season tend to absolutely hate the holiday. And I certainly did for a little bit there, especially during that whole kind of thing. But I've always kind of had a thing with if something was super miserable, but I've experienced it with other people. Over time, I forget all the misery and focus on how much fun the good times actually were. Like I've done that with prior jobs, like when I was doing environmental restoration, and just absolutely miserable conditions and craziness. But I don't really remember that. I just remember having a whole lot of fun with a whole lot of people, just getting a large job done. So yeah, well. I don't think I've had any traumatic experience with Christmas, but definitely working, 2 full-time jobs during the holiday season is it's rough. Also, just something random. I'll mention it again on these cut test things here, but these most of the Ganzo guys with the Axis or crossbar lock style thing were running basically on nylon washers, so it just doesn't really give you that wonderful action feeling. Feels a little bit more sticky. It's still smooth, but sticky kind of thing. And I wanted to kind of do something about that, so I kind of measured the pivot post sort of thing, and found a pretty good equivalent on eBay for them. Unfortunately, I can't find almost any extra washers that are phosphor bronze. I believe the ones that I got here were copper, because hey, that was the next best thing I could find. But yeah, I picked them up, and they were the right thickness and whatnot. But they were rough around the edges, so I actually had to take them to my strop and whatnot to polish them up. You just kind of sit it on there and drag your finger back and forth on it a little bit until it's not catching on, well, a mouse pad or any other kind of fabric or whatnot. And I gotta say, it's done a wonderful job, because I haven't really been able to flick Ganzos anywhere near that easy until I've done that. Of course, while they were also apart, I did kind of bend the springs in a little bit so that it's a little easier to actuate, because these things, usually from the factory, their springs are really, really hard, so you actually have to pull back a lot, and with both fingers to be able to do it. So it acts a lot more like the Spyderco ball lock, which is really difficult to pull back one-handed. You really want to use a finger on both sides instead of, like a Benchmade that you can basically just use your little index finger on your offhand or whatnot for them. So now it's a little bit more equivalent to that, which, hey, that's fun. And, at least, especially with something like these, hell, they're like $20 a piece. I don't really care if, I've ruined the intended build on them or anything like that. And, I guess for some higher end stuff, like Henders will do that, which crazy. Like, I can kind of understand scales, but when they sell, like, a set of hardware that's, well, this has a particular anodized finish on it, give us $200, please, or $150 or something. I'm like, you guys are batshit crazy. But it's not really my market. I mean, the people who are really into Henders and do like to customize those things quite a bit, I'm sure they love it. It's probably something a little bit like the audiophile community, where, hey, they're happy and they're spending money, so whatever. All right, this is stupid long. And, man, yeah, just thoughts kind of swirling through my head. I do have a week off of work, so I'll be trying to come up with a little bit more ideas on things that I can kind of get some content on. That'll be interesting and a little bit different, but we'll see how creative I actually end up being. I could just sleep the whole week, because sleep's awesome. I like sleep. All right. Well, I will stop talking. And, as always, appreciate y'all for watching, especially if you've actually made it this long into the video. So, yeah, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, yo.